All right, we're going live. Facebook, what's going on? YouTube, what's going on? You're going to be seeing this after we get. We're live right now. So excited. I got Jordan Stanley Payne on with me. I know I put up some pre-show notes, but I'm pumped about this. I reached out to him and told him I want to get you on because, as you know, with the real estate blitz, one of the big things that we're really trying to push right now is just I say it over and over. I'm not a guru. I'm not a coach. I don't make a profit off of doing this. I'm creating the Real Estate Blitz to help other real estate agents build a successful business and also to help them get into real estate investing. Because here's the truth. You guys, along with myself and you girls, you all make a lot of chunk money if you're doing it right, especially if you're watching Real Estate Blitz, right? But if you're making this chunk money, you should be putting it into something else that's going to give you passive income or create more income. And I think a lot of real estate agents, they're taking their money, they're putting it in the bank, or even worse, if you watch a video I did recently on YouTube, they're running into some guy that says, hey, I'll invest your cash for you in the stock market. And they're taking you for a ride. Like, well, you got to focus on retirement. And all I asked was, what's the return? And you can't tell me what the return is, or it comes out being, at most 6%. That's not a return. That's not what you should be doing with your chunk money. So I'm trying to educate you all to get into real estate investing. This is why I have Jordan on today. Jordan, I've been a huge fan of his for a very long time. Follow a lot of his stuff, chimed in on a lot of his stuff. We run in a lot of the same circles, whether it's like through Bigger Pockets or wholesaling houses full time, Alex Youngblood. And I've always been a huge fan, and I had to get him on here. So real quick, Jordan, do me a favor. Tell everybody kind of just a quick synopsis of, who you are, what you do, so they can get a better feel from you.
Hey, man, greatly appreciate you having me on. Been following you as well, and I love the content, dude. I love the mindset message and the shift in perception. So greatly appreciate it. Guys, my name's Jordan Stanley Payne, small town in Montana. Been investing in real estate actually not very long. I'm coming up on 3 years. January 10th will be my 3-year mark. So I'm quote unquote a newbie, but we've done a lot of stuff and we've really moved mountains in a very short period of time.
Right.
Primarily investing in cash flowing assets, multifamily stuff. C and D class properties. Got a couple different portfolios, one on the west, one on the east side of the state that we've been growing for a little bit now. That's
awesome, man. Yeah, I love Montana. I almost went to Montana when I was in Afghanistan. If you're there long enough, they give you what's called R&R, a little rest and relaxation. And I was going to go out there, and I want to go hunting. And my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, she was actually in northern Afghanistan, and she's like, really, you're gonna leave work in Afghanistan to go out and run through the Montana to go hunting? I was like, yeah, that's what I'm doing. She's like, no. She talked me into going to the Virgin Islands. I've been going back to the Virgin Islands every year ever since. Yeah, so yeah, man, it's Virgin Islands is a little bit different. It's pretty cool, but I do love Montana. It's a beautiful place. So good on you. So I know there's so much that I want to ask you, and you saw the show notes that I wrote. That's why I'm looking over here, folks. If you see me. I wanted to go through a lot of the show notes, but part of me is like, we have a limited amount of time, and there's so much information that honestly, I think a lot of people, it's just going to go a little over their head, but it's going to give me an opportunity to create more content to go deeper into what you and I will be talking about. But I just want to preface with, as we start going, because I just want to go right into the questions. To me, this is like a blessing for me because I get to ask cool questions, right? Yeah. But I want to just start digging into it. And I want to preface with, just remember that the goal of us talking, these are most of the people that follow me or watch a lot of stuff that I'm doing, they're real estate agents or real estate brokers.
Okay.
Yeah, real estate agents, real estate brokers. Most of the time it's 25 as far as age, 25, excuse me. Red Bull, it's destroying me. 25 to about 45. So it's they still got a lot of time. They're a bit younger and they really want to dig into investing, but they don't know where to start. So I want to, as we talk through this, it's because you and I, we were starting to talk. If we just talked investing, like we would lose everybody. Yeah. So I think we talk about investing, but keep it to a point to where it's consumable. And then as we start rolling deeper, then I want to talk about what you do and how you can help people as they want to, if they want to explore this with you. So let's run down. How did you get started in investing? And because I know my story, everybody has a story, but how did you get started?
I've been an entrepreneur since I was 18 years old. My mom and dad started in business. That's kind of how I grew up. So right out of high school, I traveled for a very quick period of time. And then when I came back, I dove straight into business, man. I mean, I asked my dad, I said, look, I want to get involved. A couple weeks later, he went out and bought a company that I was kind of co-running with him. Like that was like my very, very first experience in the business world. Wow. So we did that and a couple other things for a while. And then I kind of fell out of that pattern, and I went and got the naughty word, I went and got a job. And I was working for Enterprise Rent-A-Car. They have a really good management training program. So I started working through that and kind of started climbing that corporate ladder, and I was miserable, man. I was recently married, never got to see my wife. I was never home. We were working opposite shifts. And during that time, I remember very specifically, my dad came and he gave me a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Good book.
Most people have heard of that book. For me, that was not just a book, but that radically changed my life. Some of the concepts that were being discussed in that book, like, assets and liabilities and residual income and investing, all of these different concepts really hit home with me because I did have a little bit of that entrepreneurial background kind of growing up. So very shortly after I read that book, I said, you know what do I have to lose? I'm young. I've got a little bit of talent. I feel like I know enough where if I completely screw this up, I can just go get another job. Right. So that was kind of my dive. And I started with what they call wholesaling. I had a local mentor and, was working with him. And
did you ever get picked on when, like, you would go into an investor meeting and you have to stand up or you say something, you're like, yeah, I'm a wholesaler. I remember walking in when I started doing wholesaling. So let's see. So I remember I started getting deep into wholesaling because I had always been like a fix and flip guy. Yep. And then when the market started getting tighter, I started exploring wholesaling. That's when I ran into Sean Terry podcasts. So this was about 4 or 5 years ago. That's how I met Nasser. We were at the event out at the Walking Stick Resort in Arizona, like about 5 years ago. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to be interviewing him soon. Love that guy. And I started really digging deep, and then I got into wholesaling, and I was like, crap, man, like I'm making more money kind of doing this than I am with fix and flips. I can keep what I want. I can flip the rest. It was energy, but it's a different type of energy. And I just started running with it, but I would have to stand up in front of a meeting. I'd be like, I'm a wholesaler. And people would like laugh at me. But that's kind of like, if you're a good wholesaler, if you're good, you're better than almost any broker that's in real estate. Yep. You're better than most of the fix and flip guys because they don't understand if you can control the inventory, like you're king. You're king dingling, and it's amazing, man. So yeah, I had to ask because I thought maybe it was just me. I always get, oh, you're a wholesaler, it's awful. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm making like $100,000 a month wholesaling.
It's a little bit like, standing in front of like an AA meeting. It's just like everyone's just what. But no, I mean, I did that for 10 months straight. We made good money. We were doing deals both in Montana. We were doing deals virtually, Charlotte, North Carolina, Tulsa, Oklahoma, a couple different markets in Ohio.
Right. And, cool.
Dude, I will never forget, like the light bulb went off and I said, what the hell am I doing? I'm giving away every great deal that I find to somebody else who's making 10 times more money than I am.
That's spot on.
Yeah.
100%. And I felt the same way. And then I met Michael Quarles. So he's still he's getting ready to drive down here. He's helping me build a different business, and he's going to hang out for a few days. He's the one that asked me a question. He says, what is wholesaling? So I told him what I thought it was at the time. He's like, that's not wholesaling. Basically, you're going out and doing a lot of work to find the property, and you're keeping a very small portion of that profit, and you're giving the rest away. That's what wholesaling is. You're losing money. Unreal. That's cool.
Yes, I mean, after that light bulb moment, I said, look, I'm not giving away any more deals. I'm going to try to figure out a way to keep every single great deal. I'm already marketing. I'm already talking to people. I'm already out there in the marketplace like nonstop. Right. Why don't I benefit from that?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, you obviously benefit as a wholesaler. You're going to make an assignment, check and all that. But
the more you learn, why would you? And that's what I was kind of getting at. If you can control the inventory, I would even say for real estate agents, if they start exploring and learning how to wholesale, to me, whenever somebody says, how do I get into investing, which I'm going to ask you your version. Mm-hmm. I say you need to get into the meetings. You need to start, there's a lot that you got to do as far as learning and mindset. But I think the first path that I recommend is to learn how to become a decent wholesaler, to learn how to go out and find the deals. Because to me, that's the foundation for everything else. If you're getting phone calls and you can't really do a fix and flip, you can't get it enough, but you could do something creative. Now you're talking about learning about creative financing. You're talking about sub twos. You're talking about buy and holds. There's so many things you could be doing. if you're a real estate agent, especially the people that could be watching this, now you're talking about, okay, maybe a renovate to sell. So you keep your house. I can assist you with renovating that property to make it worth more, help you with the capital. You make money. There's a lot of different unique things that you could be doing. So do you recommend that? How do you recommend somebody if they're trying to get into investing?
In the kingdom, I tell people go wholesale 2 deals. Wholesaling is going to teach you how to talk to people, how to negotiate, how to market, how to talk to buyers and sellers, how to work with contracts. Like you really are well-rounded if you can go out and wholesale a couple of deals. I call wholesaling the gateway drug. Right?
Oh yeah.
It's the gateway drug, and once you've done it, you're hooked, man. Now you're on to bigger and better things, and that's what I'm all about. I think it's a great way to start.
Absolutely. So you just mentioned something, the kingdom. So what is that?
The kingdom started a while ago. It started as about 10 people that were following me in a different group. Mm-hmm. And I just started sharing my story. When that light bulb went off and I said, hey, I'm going to keep every single property that I find now. People started kind of following that journey, and that really evolved into something kind of cool. So right now it's a community that's growing every day. We've got 5 mentors. We've got about a dozen leaders. We do this about 9 times a week to teach, train, mentor kind of some of our people. But it really started as a movement for people that said, look, I want to get financially free.
Right. And cool. And I think I'm going to ask a little more about that here in a little bit, because, for me, anybody that's followed me for a little while, they know I hate gurus. I'm not a big fan of brokers either, which is kind of funny, but I hate gurus because I feel like, and quite a few of the gurus are good, close friends of mine. And I tell them too, I just think what they're passing, it's information, but it's not truth. And it doesn't go deeper to really help somebody. And all you're doing is you're putting your hands in their pockets. But like I said, we'll talk about that in a minute. I don't know if you saw this, but Chris posted up something real quick. Wholesale to retail buyers, if it's tight. And exactly, I think as a real estate agent or a broker, if you're watching this, the beauty of learning how to become a wholesaler or doing wholesale deals is that you really, for one, start learning how to find deals in a different way that are off market. Now, that's a huge benefit for agents that want to learn how to become listing agents. Now, this is the thing. You're finding properties with people that have need. They have need. They need to sell their house. Now, I remember I would get like 150 phone calls. I may only convert 4 or 5 as a cash deal. But what about all those other people? Now, as a real estate agent, you could either list it and sell it as is, which you'll end up selling to an investor anyways. You could pick it up and yourself and renovate to sell, which is what I do. I just picked up 2 more right up literally 5 minutes from me. Guy ran into him hanging out. I'm renovating his homes. I'm making money on the money that's being invested, going to turn around and sell a turnkey home, maximize money, and I'll get a couple buyers and maybe another listing off of that. Or I just flip it myself. Or if it's still tight, maybe I just keep it and keep it in my portfolio as a buy and hold, depending on how, especially depending on the need. So, well, it's paid off. It's cash. This is my favorite one. Somebody passed away, so it's a probate, and they just want a residual. Well, how much do you want a month? Okay. Well, I could work with that. And you line it up. You do creative financing. So, yeah, Chris, you're 100% right, and I appreciate you posting that up for us. So, we talked a little bit about the kingdom, and at the very end, I want to go a little bit deeper into that. But I think, since you do run the kingdom, and it was like a grassroots thing, which is why I respect it. What do you find now that you deal with people all the time, every day? What do you find to be the biggest challenge that, people that are trying to break into investing, what do you think the biggest challenge is for them in order to really get started?
Mindset. Dude, it all comes down to mindset. So many people, especially real estate agents, no offense. True. So many people, they have blinders on. The only thing that they can see is 20% down, bank financing or cash. Right. So it's a completely 180 different mindset shift to get into like the creative stuff. And like, Chris, I know you know this, but cash only solves one problem. Right. Well, I found out that there's a lot of different problems than just cash, So I think a lot of people just have to get beyond themselves, and they have to start working on a mindset shift to start to understand the different creative ways. So, it's funny because, again, this is one of those moments where I would love to get lost with you in this because like I read all your posts and I watch your videos too. And for those of you that are watching, if you aren't watching Jordan's videos and stuff, you got to go follow him.
But like I feel like I could get really, really lost in that because you said something that was magic. And I think if real estate agents or brokers understood what you just said, even within their own real estate business, they would probably double or triple their business. What you just look at me. For those of you out there, if you're watching this, let me qualify what he just said because it's gold. Money doesn't solve it only solves one problem. It doesn't solve all the problems. And there's a lot of problems. Now, what he's getting at is, I did a deal, 12 properties. This guy had 12 single family homes. He had been renting them. They were all profitable. They were on mark, but he just didn't want to deal with them anymore. And he just wanted to offload them. Now, I could have turned around and sold them, but I says, okay, how much do you need every month? And then we did a creative finance deal and turned it. Basically, I did a first, second. I subjugated him. I wrapped it, and then I offloaded it. Yep. And then still built myself in on a residual income off of that thing. So it's, man, I could get lost with you on that.
Yeah.
And it makes so much freaking sense. So, I agree with you. But mindset. So if mindset is the number one issue, in my opinion as well. So for you, what would you recommend? How does somebody change their mindset to get past themselves, to get over themselves in order to just make the commitment, and not just the commitment, but once you've made the commitment, how do you start and go and keep going consistently?
Yeah, I mean, like I'm a big fan of surrounding myself with people that continuously challenge my mindset and people that have the balls to look me in the eye and say, why did you just say that? Why do you think like that? Why did your mind go to that place? Right. Like yes, I mentor people, but I've got people that mentor me and people that hold my ass to the fire and say, oh, come on now, that's a limiting belief.
Right.
So, I mean, I think mindset is something that you've got to work on daily, and you've got to be following people and listening to people that are going to challenge you.
Right. So let me ask you something. How do you work on your mindset?
And I'm a huge motivation fiend. I'm big on YouTube. I've been doing stuff like when I'm sleeping, like sleep meditation stuff.
Wow.
It's always pumping my head, 8 hours a night full of mindset stuff. I've got a couple different playlists that I like, and that's more motivation, not so much on the creative side.
Right.
But I mean, I love analyzing deals. I love looking at different deals and challenging myself. And this is something I learned in Rich Dad Poor Dad was how can I make this deal work? Like, Chris, I've never used my own money on any deal that I've ever done. And I own a multi-million-dollar portfolio right now. I've never used my own money. To be able to say that, you have to be super creative. Mm-hmm. And you have to have a dedication to continuously be learning different creative strategies. Right. Well, to make a long story short is just get in the habit of trying to figure out different creative ways to solve a problem. We're in real estate because we know how to solve problems. Like I said, cash is only one solution to a problem. Yep. So if you just get in that habit of every single day, how can I make this happen for me? Not everybody has a lot of money. Not everybody has great credit, Right. So you've got to figure out other ways.
Absolutely, man. And man, that's just so insightful. And I'm hoping, and even if it's people that aren't on right now, when we put this on YouTube and iTunes and everything else, I'm hoping somebody is like, wow, and it changed. Because what you just said is, I believe it's going to change somebody's life. It's magic. So I want to ask the next question. I think this is important as well, because like I said, this is structured really for real estate agents, real estate brokers. Not everybody that's a real estate agent wants to become an investor, but they want to. I hear it all the time. Chris, how do you work with so many investors? So, let's say somebody, they don't want to be an investor, but they want to work with investors. What would you recommend to a real estate agent that's trying to actually connect with investors or find investors so they can start working with them?
I've worked with a lot of different licensed agents, brokers, all that, and a lot of them have greatly, greatly frustrated me. One, they're not willing to see anything beyond bank financing with 20% down or cash. That frustrates the hell out of me. Like I said, I don't use my own money. I don't do that. Right. Yes, I've worked with banks, like all that. It's a different story. But one of our favorite people that we work with that is licensed, when we met her, she was not actively a real estate agent. She was brand new. And she said something very, very key that most real estate agents aren't willing to say. She said, will you teach me? I said, yeah. She had MLS access and all that stuff, but she was willing to humble herself and say, hey, I don't know it all, but I see what you're doing. I see you closing on deals. Can you teach me a little bit about what you're doing? So what we did is we taught her our investment criteria, and it took a while, and there was a lot of questions, which are great, but she was willing to sit down with us, over many lunches, many dinners. She goes and walks properties with us. Like, we take her everywhere we go because we're teaching her not only to be an investor, but to be a better real estate agent by spending time with people that are actually closing deals. Now, some of the pros, the pro real estate agents, and they won't hear a damn thing I say.
Because they're arrogant. They're arrogant. And this is something I talk about over and over and over on the Real Estate Blitz. I don't know. I tell a story about the first broker I ever had. I remember walking in. He didn't know me from anybody. He knew of me because I almost bought this really awful garbage house from him. But, I was a younger guy, and he looked at me and thought I was a loser just because I wasn't pulling up in a brand new car and rocking the Bentley, but or rocking the Breitling watch. And I remember sitting down, and this is, again, I did this for my wife in the beginning. I did not want to be a real estate. I was making way too much money. And looking back now that I know the guy, I'm like, dude, you weren't even on my level financially, but that was important to him. To me, that wasn't important. It still isn't. Money's the byproduct. That's not what I'm lost on. Yeah. But yeah, he's like, one day if you work really hard, you might be able to get a watch like this. I'm like, it just was so exactly, man. It was so irritating to me. And yeah, you could get a nice car, and it was just so arrogant. Most agents, I'll even tell you one more. I was working with this one agent. She was a friend. I actually bought a house through her. That was my personal house. And she calls me up. She says, I got this killer investment property. I looked at it. I did the numbers. I'm like, oh my God, what, you think I'm going to make a profit on? There's like maybe a $10,000 gap. And this is in, California. So I got to pay, you're telling me I got to pay $600,000 to make 10,000, which doesn't even cover the closing costs the first time I pick it up. Right. And how did you think this was a deal? Oh, well, I work with a ton of investors. Well, they must be, losing their ass because, but it's just the arrogance. And I think that's why I love the people that watch the Real Estate Blitz. They're younger, they're hungry, and they're inquisitive, and they're trying to, and they're listening to somebody or listening to, like right now, I'm starting to interview more people that it's not just me. Mm-hmm. And I'm not a guru. I'm not a coach. I'm not taking anybody's money. I'm just doing this because I deeply want people to win. And, it's mind blowing to me. It's the arrogance. It's the culture of real estate agents is why most investors hate working with real estate agents. It's why if you look at almost any investor forum, like, should I get my license? Hell no. I didn't want to get my license. I thought, now what's funny is now that I've had my license for a while, I realize the ball is teed up for real estate agents. This is why I want to teach them how to get into investing. It is literally, you just got to swing. You don't even have to be good at it. You could just bunt the ball's there for you. And you should blow up both businesses, and it's so much easier for people. But anyways, I got lost. I just start going, and this is about you. It's not about me.
I had a post that almost went viral, and it was called Dear Real Estate Agents. I said something like, hey, your cute little mug shot is nice. Your little email newsletter is cute. I don't care that you won Employee of the Month, at four-person brokerage, but learn to listen, man. I think the gal that we're working with, I think she's gonna do more deals because she was willing to be humble.
Right, and I think you're showing her different angles that are, I don't even view them as outside of the box, but you're showing her different angles on truth, how to find stuff when people need, and how to be empathetic, because this is the big one for real estate investors. You're trying to talk somebody into selling their house to you for 50, 60, maybe 70 cents on the dollar, and you're helping them. You're digging deeper, and you're helping them actually address something that is a pain situation for them. And you have to be empathetic. You have to understand. You have to be bigger and know more. And agents just aren't willing to do that, man. So yeah, she's going to kill it. I'm excited for her. I'd love to, follow her if she has something going on online for sure. That's for cool, sure, man. Yeah. And if you didn't see, Chris put up. Let me bring down Steve real quick. I do you know Chris? She's wonderful. Can you see these that I'm posting up?
Yeah, I can. Yep.
Yeah, she's 100% right. You think 25K under market is a deal. That's not a deal. You need to learn your numbers, real estate agents. You got to learn your numbers.
I'm gonna maybe ruffle a couple feathers here, but I don't care about cap rate. What the hell is cap rate, right?
Right.
So many different, all these agents want to work with us, which I think is just flattering or whatever. But
Right.
they send me these numbers and I look at them and I say, okay, well, you're not calculating maintenance, vacancy. You're not calculating in like all of this different stuff. And they're like, oh, but it's a blank cap. It's a great deal. It's like, well, learn how to actually analyze a deal. Learn
Right.
how, not every investor does cap rate. I've never used cap rate. Like, what is that?
I don't know, man. But I think that's when you got to dig in deep with that investor. So just like you're doing with this one real estate agent, if you find somebody, be humble, go and talk to them, and then find out what they want and how they do it and what works for them. I have one client that I work with. He always wants a deck. I put together a deck real quick for him, and here's the truth. It's just math. It's just math, and this fits within your tolerance. Do you want it? And and I remember, people, well, should I go see it? Sometimes, if depending on the investor, they don't even need to see the property. It's just math. I do videos for them. I'll go out if it's not something that I'm picking up. I'll actually do a video. I'll send it to them because they don't want to always go out on their own. Especially, I have a lot of investors that don't even live in the California market.
Sure.
So yeah, man, I agree with you 100%. Looks like Steve put up something here. As I always say, one of the most difficult parts of a transaction is the ignorance of the other agent. You're 100% true there, Steve. 100% true. So yeah, man, I've read and seen a lot of your stuff, and I know you see, I don't view it as negative, but you say how you feel because what you feel is truth. And, so, I mean, how else do you feel about real estate agents? Where else do you think they're failing when it comes to what they do?
I think just in general, and I hate to make generalizations, but a lot of agents aren't willing to actually get the information that an investor needs to make. Like, I'll make my own cash flow model or my own analysis on a property, but you've got to be willing to either let me talk to the seller, or you've got to be willing to get me the information that I'm asking for. I mean,
right.
Like it's pretty simple: income and expenses. That's all I need. But I want legit income and legit expenses.
Right.
I don't want a pro forma. I don't want any of that stuff. I want to know what is the property actually doing. A lot of people, they're so focused on, oh, well, the market's appreciating or there's equity built in. Yeah, well, talk to my friend 2007, 2008 when that all went out the window.
Right.
I want to know what the property is doing right now, and I want to know what value I can add to the property. And if you can get me that, I'll work with you all day long. Guarantee that.
True, man.
You're not willing to make a phone call and get me the information? Call me back when you're ready, I guess.
Yeah, call me back when you want to be serious and actually move forward. Now, you said something just now that I took a note over here. So when we first started talking, you said you had started in wholesaling. Can you walk us through kind of your natural progression to, so the first question, what are you really focused in, you personally focused in right now for your investment business outside of the kingdom?
Sure. Yeah. So, I mean, like when I made that transition, I didn't have a lot of money. I didn't have good credit. Banks were laughing at me. So I really had to figure out something different. So the majority of the portfolio that we've built has been all creative financing. So I love owner financing.
Right.
I love lease options. I love subject to properties. And I love building relationships with private money lenders. Not hard money brokers that pretend to be private money lenders, but actual private money people that have a need that I can jump in and help solve. So that's kind of been the basis of what we're doing. I personally prefer multifamily. It takes me about the same amount of time to analyze a single family as it does a multifamily. If I'm going to spend, a half an hour or an hour analyzing a deal, I'd rather do 4 units and above, personally.
Absolutely. So
that's kind of where we're at. We've done a lot of creative stuff, and we're starting to kind of do some different transitional things, kind of moving from the C and D class to like A and B.
That's a lot, man. So, I don't think people realize how much you have to learn to get to where you are right now, especially to go to that next level that you're going to. So what was your progression from wholesaling to where you are? Because I'm telling you, so for those of you watching, if you don't realize how much information you have to stuff into your head and not just be aware of it, you need to know it in order to get to what he's doing now. It's a lot. So how did you create that? What was the progression?
I'm gonna take one half step back.
Okay.
I think the problem is that so many people are trying to cram so much information into their head, and they expect that reading a book or listening to a show like this or a podcast or whatever, they think that that's going to solve their problem. When solving your problem is getting out there, you got to get your hands dirty. You've got to make some mistakes. I've made a lot of mistakes.
Right.
Our first deal that we did, I've been talking multifamily. My first deal that we did was a single family property. It was in a market that I'd never been to. Made an offer sight unseen. I was just bullshitting. I had no clue what I was doing, But I had to take that step to start to understand what was actually going on.
Right.
So we started with a kind of a crappy single family house. I actually did use a bank. My business partner was bankable. We were able to get the bank financing on it. It was really, really cheap. I know you're in California, right?
Right.
Check this out. Four bed, 2 bath. I got it for $30,000, livable. So got it for 30 grand.
That's a crack house out here, and it's like
Right?
with a toilet, and you can't lay down.
Yeah. This was probably 1 or 2 steps above that, I'd say. But again, dude, I had no clue what I was doing. If I would have waited until I felt like I knew what I was doing, I never would have done anything. So I had to get out there and make a mistake. That one wasn't necessarily a mistake, but it was a learning process for me.
So you're encouraging that people should basically fail forward.
Fail forward in somewhat of a smart, safe manner. Like I knew, I'm like, you know what? I believe that I can rent this for $800.
Right.
If I don't, I only rent it for $400. Can I still cover my expenses? Yes, I could.
Perfect.
I was fairly comfortable in that progression there.
Right.
We held that for 7 days. We sold it on owner financing for 60. Bought it for 30. Sold it on owner financing for 60. $10,000 down. I think we held that for 10 months, and then we sold the paper. Chris, we were talking about that a minute ago.
And it's funny, I wrote down, so I felt like this went exactly how I was hoping it was, because I'm going to ask you, so we don't lose everybody. So failing forward, and to me, I'm not saying a safety net, but you should have exit strategies and have thought through this. And then I wanted you to go through, this is perfect because you're already talking about it, like literally this deal structure. Like if you could break it down, what you thought about. So here it is, you find a property that's 2 steps above a crack house, right? It's your first deal, and you decide, it's 30,000. Here's my exit strategy. Here's how I kind of stay safe. And then this is what we're going to do. And what's cool is that you didn't just sell it for 60,000, that you went right after that. And so can you walk us through that deal structure?
Yeah, and I wish I had a better story here. So
we could do another one, man. We got some time.
Cut that part out. I didn't know anything about owner financing when I bought it. Right. So I was talking to somebody, kind of a guy in this market that I was working in, and he was like, dude, you don't want to deal with maintenance. Why don't you sell it on owner financing? Well, I barely knew what that even meant.
Right.
So I was like, instead of just looking for a tenant, why don't I advertise it as owner financing? And just for the heck of it, I put it for 60 grand instead of 30 that I bought it for.
Right.
And sure enough, I had people calling me left and right.
That's awesome.
So, and again, I didn't even know what paperwork was involved at that point, but I was hungry to learn. I was hungry to get moving, and I wanted to be financially free, dude. I wanted passive income. And I had just learned about owner financing where I didn't have to necessarily deal with the repairs on it. So, we sold it on owner financing. We got $10,000 down, bought it for 30, sold it for 60. I think we were doing 8% for 10, 15, something like that. I didn't even know about selling paper at that point.
Oh, so yeah.
I didn't know. Like my only thought was, I think I can rent this for $700 or $800. Like when I first dove into it.
Right.
Like my point is once you get something in motion, like a car, once you get a car in motion, it's much easier to steer when you're already moving. If you stay in park, you're never gonna know. So right. I failed forward and I figured it out. And we took that $10,000 and we got into a 6 unit. Like, guys, this is my first month in buy and hold. Right.
That's awesome.
Single family, sold it on owner financing, got $10,000 down, used that $10,000 to get into a 6-plex. Right. It's like I was making moves as quickly as possible because I had a business partner and we were trying to split like $400 a month. Like that didn't cover any of my bills. Right. Nope. So I was making moves as quickly as I could because I wanted my income, my passive income to surpass my bills. Again, right. Back to Robert Kiyosaki, that's the point of financial freedom, at least, my definition of it.
Right.
So I just started making as many moves as I could and attempted to be safe,
It sounds like you believe in my mantra. So my mantra is think big, start small, move quickly.
Sure.
And that's kind of like the way I do everything. I didn't get into a lot of the stuff that I'm into just because, I know some people patience and this and the other. I'm here, but I'm just going to start taking. I'm just going to start biting. I'm just going to start trying to run and move as quickly as possible, and I'm going to learn as I go. And I think that's the only way to do it. Do you want to give us like another deal structure? And for those of you that are watching, there's quite a few people that keep popping on, popping off. Ask questions too. This is an opportunity for you to actually ask questions if you want a specific question answered about real estate investing or buy and holds or fix and flips or how to get started as a real estate agent to move into this space, or if you want to ask any questions about the kingdom. But can you give us like another quick rundown deal structure?
Yeah, I'll give you an example of one that we're closing on here in a couple weeks. I call it a seller carryback. I don't know if that's appropriate. I don't know if that's like the right terminology, but guys, another way that I learned during my progression was when I was technically bankable, I didn't want to come up with the 20, 25, 30% that a bank had for a down payment, right?
Right.
So what I learned was the seller of the property could finance me on the down payment. I call that a seller carryback. They're going to carry back the down payment that my bank wants from me. Mm-hmm. So when I learned that I could do that, I started going after like semi-bigger properties, 13 unit, 20 unit, stuff like that.
Right.
And if I could just get the seller to finance me on 20%, the sales pitch is a little bit like this. Hey, I'm not going to ask you to owner finance me this for $5,000 down. What if I gave you 80% of your asking price at closing, and then you allow me to make payments on 20%?
That's smart.
That's a much easier sales pitch, right?
Yeah. So are you doing that like on a second? You're just basically doing a second on the. That's freaking genius. And here's the thing. I've never heard of that. I've never heard of that. I've never even thought about it. I'm even doing a deal right now, and it's I think we're looking to purchase at 1.9 mil, and they want 200,000. So we're doing a little bit different. So they wanted all the money right up front. I'm like, I talked them into 200,000 down, 10,000 per lot as sold. But then they wanted interest. I'm like, crap, and I'm like, I could get my money cheaper. So I'm probably going right back to the cash deal. After hearing that, I'm like, okay.
Well, I mean, let me rephrase it another way. A bank normally wants 20, 25, 30% down. Right. What if you went to the seller and said, hey, I'll give you 50% down? Now you're giving the bank a better deal, right?
The bank's getting a better deal. You're getting a better deal because you're going through the bank. You don't have to deal with hard money.
Yep.
It's fantastic, man.
That's one of the things that we've been implementing. Closed on a 13 unit in January. We've got a 14 unit under contract that we're closing here pretty soon.
Is this the stuff you guys teach?
Yeah.
You teach that too? That's magic. So real quick, we got a couple questions that popped up. First question, Roger. Roger asks, how does paper work?
Sure. So guys, when you are buying or selling on an owner finance or seller finance deal, the agreement between you and the seller or the buyer, that's often referred to as a note. Some people call it paper. There's probably more names that I'm forgetting. That agreement has value, and that can be sold often at a discount. And somebody would buy that debt and say, hey, let's go back to my single family. 60 grand, they put $10,000 down. So the note was 50,000 at 8% interest a month. I think it was for 10 years. I was able to sell that agreement, that piece of paper, to somebody that wanted to collect that payment every single month. So there's people that's all they do.
So let me just chime in real quick because I know somebody's probably going to put it up here in a second. The difference between selling notes and assignments. Right. Yeah. So if you're talking about paper, there are a few different terms and each has different meanings and different values and different ways of approaching it. So let's talk about assignments first. What's an assignment? And that's pretty much kind of what you just explained. But there's easier, like wholesaling, I think is really where you can talk about assignments mostly.
Yeah. On a wholesale deal, you are getting a property under contract with a seller. That contract says and or assigns. That means that you can close on it, or you can assign that contract to an end buyer. That's
to close it, right?
To close it, so they go close on your behalf.
Perfect.
Now, an assignment contract is the second agreement that you need between you and the end buyer. So you have a buy-sell agreement, and you have an assignment contract.
Very good.
That's assigning. Yeah.
Right. So now let's talk about notes.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm into. So I'm a big fan. Yeah.
So, and again, I don't want to restate what I just said, but A note is it's basically the agreement between whoever you're financing it with. So instead of a bank, I would be the bank. When I sold my property under financing, I was acting as the bank.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of my tenant buyer paying a bank, they were paying me. Instead of them going and getting bank financing, I financed them. That agreement, people call a note or call paper. That agreement has value. So I was able to sell that contract, that agreement, to somebody that just wanted to collect the payments. They wanted to be the bank. Guys, by the way, every bank, every actual bank does this all the time.
Yep.
You
go sell everything.
Yeah. You go to a bank and you get a mortgage. They're going to sell it, and someone else is going to sell it, and someone else is going to sell it. It's going to end up on Wall Street somewhere. So it's not a new term. It's not a new strategy. Banks have been doing this forever. It's just that we can capitalize on it.
Yep.
So if you wanted to own real estate and you didn't actually want an actual technical property, you could buy a note and just get cash flow on that note.
Yep, absolutely, man. So that's perfect. So Roger, I hope that answered it for you. And Steve, I saw your question, and I'm just going to let you know that so Steve had asked, how many units do you own? That's not really, I don't want to get into how many units people own, because I don't think it's relevant to what we're trying to accomplish. So I don't mean to cut you off. It's just, I want to stick to really what does it take to actually move down this path for real estate agents. Now, if you, Steve, anybody that usually watches me, if you want, you can always call me on my cell phone. Anybody that watches the Blitz on YouTube, the Real Estate Blitz on YouTube, I get phone calls from all over the nation now. Wow. You can call me anytime, and we could definitely have that conversation on the side. But I don't think it's relevant for right now what we're trying to accomplish. But sorry, and if that makes me a bad guy,
you're a terrible guy.
Then I guess I'm a bad guy. So since we've been bringing it up, and I saw the website, I want to talk about the Kingdom now, because I said we would get to it, and we're starting to run out of time. Tell me, what is it? What does it provide? We already talked about how it started, but what does it provide, and how is it beneficial for people if they want to get involved?
Sure. So the Kingdom is not a course. It's not a program. It's not a 3-day seminar. The Kingdom is a family and a group of people that came together that all wanted the exact same thing. Everybody was moving towards financial freedom. So we basically just provided a platform for people to gather. So we've got, hundreds of people in there. We teach live 9 times a week. There are 5 mentors. Every single one of the mentors is extremely proficient in creative financing. So we've all got portfolios. We're all I'm not specialized in every single area of real estate. So we've brought in people that were, a couple of them are real estate agents. One of them just does paper. That's his gig. He loves to do paper. We've got all these different mentors and leaders in this community that are helping the whole family get to where they want to go. Right. So, we help review people's deals. We help them with the creative strategies. We've got, hundreds of different documents and different tools for people to kind of get going in real estate. We've had people as young as 16 years old in the Kingdom. They can't even legally sign paperwork yet. They're not 18. But these people are starting to learn how to get financially free. We've got 16 all the way up to people that are in, mid to late 50s that are in a different country that are involved in this movement, saying, look, I want to get free, and I want to get free with passive income and investing, not only for myself, but the generations after me.
Right.
I tell people the moves that I make right now are going to benefit 10 generations beyond me after I die. You can't say that with wholesaling. You can't necessarily say that being a real estate agent.
It's hand to mouth. It's hand to mouth, and that's why I'm trying to educate agents. I'm like, look, if you're killing it now, you're doing, let's say you're doing 40, 50, 60 deals a month. You're doing that now, and I see your new Lambo. However, you know what I mean? However, if you got sick, if you got hurt, and especially if you got a family, like I got a family, what's going to continue to create that profit? What's going to continue to take care of you? And if you were just that grinder, I got a good buddy of mine. I'm going to be interviewing him, Christian Stone. The guy he grinds hard, man. But he doesn't have anything.
Grinding makes you dull. Think about it. Grinding makes you dull.
Yep.
But Chris, what you're saying is trading time for money is a losing equation. I agree.
Yep, 100%. You know, so the other things that I saw when I went and checked out the website and some of the other stuff, and it's funny, well, I'll mention that in a second. So, you know, if you want to get into wholesaling, if you want to get into some of these other niches and start learning. So if somebody wanted to jump on there and I'll just say it now. I'm a big firm believer just because I'm weird. I try stuff because I'm curious about it. I try stuff because I don't like being the guy. Like I got, you know, people hit me up all the time. Oh, you're like the sync guy. I got into sync. I've tried Boomtown. I've tried different variations of coaching, whether it was, you know, Sean Terry, whether it was Michael Quarles, whether it was Tom Ferry on the real estate agent side. I do things because, for one, I believe in education. I believe you should always be educating yourself. You should always, and not only the education, but I also believe in ecosystems and being guilty by association. That's just me personally. But I will try stuff. There's a couple things. So I hate dialers. And I did an interview with this guy recently, showing Mojo and how it incorporates with Sync, which is a system I have my agents on our team, or our agents, excuse me. And I was like, okay, well, I guess even though I don't want to use it, I'm going to learn Mojo and I'm going to use it. So I'm not just telling our agents, hey, you need to start using Mojo because I did this interview. I'm going to physically use it for a while so I can tell you from my experience. And I was looking at the Kingdom and I was looking at the pricing. I'm like, you know what? I think I might give it a run too, because I just like getting flavors. And I'm hoping, you know, 6 months from now, I can jump on and give my belief on what I got out of it. So, you know, when you talk about pricing and value, I'm a firm believer of, you know, what's the value proposition? So if somebody starts exploring it, looking at what is the value proposition to a real estate agent or broker that is like, you know what, I want to get deep into investing and I feel like I don't want to do it alone.
Yeah. So, I mean, a lot of the gurus that we keep on talking about, you know, they're 5, 10, 15, 20, you know, people like Rich Dad, that's 30. Renatus is like between 20 and 30. Fortune Builder. I mean, a lot of these guys have I buy houses cheaper than that, right? So really our goal is to get people an extremely affordable way to have access every day to these mentors that are doing big stuff.
You guys got stuff for them every day?
We do 9 live calls a week, and that's at the platinum level. In the group level, we like right before I jumped on with you, we were doing like a live Q&A. So like we're using video conferencing tools like Zoom, so I can see everybody on the call, you know, and sometimes we've had some pretty big calls, but I want to give you that opportunity every single day. I mean, I tell people all the time, all I need you to do is move your business forward one step every single day. And if you do that for 365 days, at the end of the year, you're going to look back and say, dude, I moved mountains. So that's why we're doing a daily thing. You know, I don't want to be the guru that says, hey, I'll email you one time a month. No, I want to show up every single day. And all of the mentors that are involved in the Kingdom, they have that same passion. You know, we're not doing it for the money. If we were, it would be, you know, 20, 30, 40 grand.
Well, I think money is a byproduct. And I think I mentioned that earlier, for one. And for two, I think when you give energy, for like what you guys are doing, you don't need to do this. And then you created such a base and such a following to where if you're going to commit to it, as opposed to just doing it as, like right now, I'm doing the real estate blitz as really as a hobby, and to help people. But if it got to a point to where I had to start dividing my time, and it's becoming now something I want to like commit to, then yeah, I would probably look for a way to monetize it, because it just it is important. I have to have something.
Sure.
But I don't think I could ever get to a point to where I was for me personally, a guru that wasn't still trying to produce or producing, because I just love the game too much. I just love it too much. You know, I don't think I could be that guy that hasn't sold a deal in 10, 20 or 30 years, but is still telling you how you should go out and sell deals. I just couldn't do it. I don't think it's in me.
A lot of people associate, well, if I pay the $30,000, it's a higher price, so there's more value.
So you're like Renata. So you brought it up. I'm gonna. To me, that's like a huge elephant in the room. As soon as you mention it, I got approached by them not that long ago, and you know so for those of you, the real estate agents or brokers that are watching this, or other investors, there's a lot of investors that probably watch a lot of my stuff. There are different programs, and some of them don't always have the best reputation. Not saying that they're bad. It's just that you got to understand that they're structured to to target certain types of people. And to me, what I've seen in the past with some of these places, they're borderline predatory, if not just straight up predatory. Not saying that's Renatus. I'm just saying it's the kingdom from, talk, and it sounds like it's just, and from what I've seen, and because I've been following you for a long time, it's coming from a different place. It's coming from with a different intent.
Sure.
And that's what's built it from my understanding so far.
Well, I never started with the intention to have the kingdom. Like I said, like when I started, there was about 10 people that just were curious about what I was doing.
That's cool, man. Yeah.
And it turned into 100, and then, a couple thousand people. And as I'm sure with your show, a lot of people have a lot of questions, and I can't spend my day on Facebook Messenger answering every single question from every single person in every single Facebook group that I'm involved in. So I said, hey, why don't I come up with a better platform to help teach people? Why don't I bring in people like Kris and all of these people that have like the same vision, and let's just make this fun, and let's just figure out a way to help as many people effectively. I'd rather do one call a day and teach 200 people than try to answer 200 responses on Facebook, right?
Yeah, man, that's awesome.
Just getting better with our time.
Absolutely. Okay, we're almost out of time because I know you're busy. I'm busy as well. I got one last question for you, and then I'll start closing this thing up, man. So this is something I'm sort of asking everybody, and I think it's really important. What is your number one recommendation for a real estate agent or a real estate agent out there right now that may be listening? What's your number one recommendation to them? What would you recommend if they're trying to create a killer business?
I'd say get away from the traditional things that you were taught in real estate school. Get out into the market, find actual people that need your help, and go find a way to help those guys organically. Like, I'm not against any form of marketing, but I think the most effective way that you're going to be is when you get out into your community and you start meeting real people and you start solving a problem for them.
Awesome. So how can people find you if they want to reach out to you, communicate with you, or explore the kingdom, but really to connect with you if they have other questions? How can people find you?
Sure. My personal Facebook is at Jordan Stanley Payne. I love meeting people. I think I'm maxed out on friends, but you can still shoot me a message. We can start a conversation there. Awesome. And other than that, the website, www.thekingdomrealestate.com.
Cool, man. Hey, I really, and I told you too, I'm so grateful that you actually replied back to me when I came to you with this, and I feel like since it's just new, this interview thing is new to so many people. Some people think it may be hokey, but it's so important to me. And I've been reaching out to some of my friends. I'm looking to get Jay Massey on. Yeah. Man, that guy is freaking unreal.
What a cool story.
Unbelievable story. I remember the first time I met him, I was at a San Diego investment group, and I'm sitting out in the parking lot, and there's this dude that pulls up in his Audi, and he gets out of his car, stops, and then gets down on his knees and starts praying. I'm like, and I didn't know him. I had never met him. I had listened to him online, but I never met him. And this dude's out there in the parking lot praying. And in my heart, I want to walk over and connect with him, but I didn't. And then he was introduced to me by Daryl Kukin when we went into the meeting. He's like, "Have you met Jay Massey yet?" I'm like, "So you're the guy I listened to?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm that guy." Went in, then connected with him after that. I tried to get him on my radio show, but the dude is busy. And then he would have to drive all the way down to San Diego, deep into San Diego for my radio show because I was on ESPN for a long time. He's just a beast. I got him. Toby Salgado just confirmed with me. He does Super Agent Live online. Yeah, great dude. So this was a blessing for me to have you just because I've been following you for so long. And to me, you're one of the people that I enjoy watching and listening to that tells truths. I feel like not enough people do. Even if it's something that you don't want to hear, even if I don't agree with you, at least you just put it out there because that's where you are, and that's the difference to me. Is where is that coming from? And to me, a lot of the stuff I'm putting out, it's coming from here. Even if you don't like it or don't agree with me, that's all right. But at least I'm genuinely telling you where I stand. So, man, I appreciate it. For everybody that's watching, thank you for just hanging out and watching. We got a lot of reactions. This will be on later. We're gonna, put this on the Real Estate Blitz on YouTube. We'll put this. It's already on Facebook right now, but we're gonna put it onto iTunes. It's gonna be on SoundCloud pretty soon, and listen to it over and over and over because there was a ton of gold in this one. Make sure you reach out and at a minimum, thank Jordan for giving us his time, but definitely reach out and check him out. I've been a fan for a long time. And, just keep trying to push everybody. My mission right now, I'm on a mission, is to help real estate agents become bigger, better, and more professional. Because if we don't start helping each other, if we don't start becoming more professional, somebody's going to take our industry from us. They're going to take our livelihood from us. And you'll end up online because we're doing it to ourselves. And this is how I'm going to do my part, is by getting quality people like Jordan on here to tell us what we could be doing to adjust and to change our mindset. That should be the number one thing you got out of this. So Jordan, thank you so much. Everybody watching, thank you so much. KSA Kris here. And I think that's going to be a wrap. Yeah.
Greatly appreciate you having me on.
Thanks, man. All right. Appreciate it. That's it, everybody. Appreciate you. Talk to y'all later.